this point is WTP3 divided by WTP0 for a kiss. And it's quite a bit above 1. Okay? So I'm willing to pay about 75% more for a kiss with my favorite movie star if it's 3 days from now instead of right now. But you can imagine, the person's standing right in front of you. You want to kiss now or 3 days? Oh, you know what, let's hold that off for 3 days. I don't know whether in the hypothetical scenario the person was actually standing in front of you. Maybe they were in another room so you could resist temptation. I don't know. What about the shock? Here we are going all the way 10, right? Your willingness to pay to avoid this shock is going up the further out it is. So we're somewhere here. This number's not quite right. It's not really 100%. It's a bit less than 100%. This is WTP of 3,652 days, right? The 2 is there because of leap years, over WTP 0. And people are willing to pay something approaching 100% premium to avoid this 110-volt shock if it's 10 years from now compared to if it's just now. Just give it to me now. Just give it to me now. I don't want to wait 10 years. Right? Which can't be impatience. Unless your preferences are really not what we expect. Unless you like electric shocks, that just cannot be discounting. Right? And unless you dislike kissing your favorite movie star, that just cannot be discounting of any kind whatsoever. It's clear that you're putting greater value on future outcomes than now outcomes, immediate outcomes. Yes? Does everybody see that? So without going into a lot of modeling, I'm just going to say this is a serious anomaly in terms of the standard exponential discounting model. Cannot be, and it's not just the exponential, any form of discounting. Beta, delta, anything where with discount factors less than between 0 and 1, right? This suggests that people's discount factor isn't actually a discount factor, it's an inflation factor. And that's just not what we mean when we talk about models of discounting. Okay? So let's just talk about, and again, I don't have mountains of psychological evidence. It's out there. I just don't have it in these slides. But I don't think we really need mountains of psychological evidence to see what's going on here. I think intuition and introspection will do the job. So in most standard and most behavioral models, the instantaneous utility function is defined strictly over outcomes, right? Money, goods, leisure, health, whatever it is. Things. So your instantaneous utility, meaning the choices that you make now, are defined, or sort of what utility you get now, is driven entirely by what you get now. Are you sick now or not? Did you get some candy now or not? That kind of thing. And it could be anything, right? It could be, did somebody else get candy now? Maybe you like that because you're altruistic. Or did someone you dislike just get 110-volt electric shock? Maybe you like that, right? Maybe you have Schadenfreude. But they're all about outcomes. Whether they're yours or someone else's, nice preferences or nasty preferences, are all driven by outcomes. And so here's my psychological evidence. By introspection, meaning we all know this is true, it's clear that we also derive utility from our beliefs, even when they do not involve any outcome in the current period whatsoever. Okay? So here's the placebo effect as a kind of a weird example. You may derive utility from simply believing that a pill works even if it has no actual effect. Even if it has no actual placebo effect. Even if it isn't actually making your symptoms better, it may nonetheless make you feel better because you believe that it's making your symptoms better. Okay? So I'll give you a really wacky example of this, and I don't have a citation for this. I really should look it up. This is my all-time favorite psychological experiment. 2 randomly selected groups of people are brought into 2 identical conference rooms with a big table in the middle and chairs around it, and they're given a task to do, identical task that involves collaboration. It's a fairly complicated task. Each room has a loudspeaker on the wall, which at random intervals emits a loud and very annoying sound, right? Making the task harder. Okay? At identical intervals in the 2 rooms. One of the rooms has a red button in the middle of the table, which is attached to nothing. It's just a red button. Okay? Wind them up, see what happens. The people in the room with the red button completed the task successfully with very little difficulty. The people in the room with no red button had a real problem completing the task. Why? Because the people in the room with the red button, as soon as they started hearing the noise, they simply assigned somebody in the group to hit the red button every time the noise came. And then they got on with business. Because they believed that the red button was doing something about the noise, but wasn't actually doing anything about the noise. Their preferences were not driven by outcomes, it was just driven by their beliefs about the efficacy of their actions. This is the placebo effect. This is a component of the placebo effect. What about self-esteem? This is subtly different from something else I'm going to talk about in a few minutes. You may derive utility from simply believing you are a brilliant singer, even if you never actually sing. Okay? And does anybody else sort of stand in front of the mirror holding like a paper towel roll as a microphone or something like that, or a tube of toothpaste? Now, you could argue that you like this because you're fantasizing about one day being a brilliant singer, but I think actually for a lot of us, we get utility not from the fantasy about it, but from just holding in our minds. I kind of feel like a schlemp in my life, but I know that deep inside there's a brilliant singer in me, and that makes me feel okay about myself. Okay? I'm not going to ask for a show of hands. I do this a lot. My student evaluations may suck, but that's just because I'm underappreciated, and really I'm a brilliant teacher. Okay. That's all well and good. We're going to focus on a slightly different form of utility from beliefs, which has particular intertemporal implications. So we could go way into utility from beliefs, talk about overconfidence, and is it actually better to believe? Maybe sometimes it's utility maximizing to believe you're better at something than you are. We're not going to go into that. That's fun stuff, but if you want to learn about that particular thing, you should take 136 or 8 Ulrika Malmondi's class. We're going to talk about anticipatory utility. What if you get utility now from thinking about what's going to happen in the future? Okay, so worry. The public speaking engagement is next week, but you may derive this utility now from believing it will go badly, right? Even if it's already prepared and you're not working on it. Or fantasy. The vacation is next summer, but you may derive utility now from believing that it will go well. So you may find it odd that I'm framing this as utility from beliefs. So I want to clarify what's going on. Suppose you buy a lottery ticket, one of the big jackpot lottery tickets. Does anybody happen to know what the actual odds of winning those big jackpot lotteries are? Right? It's a really large number of zeros involved. I remember an interview with a guy who was helping to set up the Kentucky Lotto way back in the 80s when Kentucky was jumping on the Lotto bandwagon. This was like the public representative of the lottery. And what he said on public radio was, your chances of winning the lottery are basically the same whether you buy a ticket or not. Right? So if you like buying a lottery ticket, now we've already talked about this. What's our story for why people buy lottery tickets? Sorry? Overweighting the small probabilities. So a lottery ticket buys you an extremely small probability of winning a lottery ticket. And if we're looking at outcomes, we've got to say something like, oh man, you've got to be overweighting that probability, whatever that means. Because the outcome in expectation is trivially small. I mean, it's really like less than a penny in expectation, I think, in most cases. But what else does that lottery ticket buy you? Raise your hand if you spent time ever during the course of the average day or week fantasizing about winning the lottery. Raise your hand high. It's okay. Lots of people do. Okay. Of the people who raise their hands, keep your hand in the air if you do not ever buy lottery tickets. Wait. Those are people who fantasize about winning the lottery but never buy lottery tickets? Okay. Now that's screwy, right? Because my own take on this is that if you want to have a nice fantasy about winning the lottery, you need to buy a lottery ticket. Right? Buying a lottery ticket does not dramatically increase your likelihood of winning the lottery, but it does put you in a position to at least legitimately fantasize about winning the lottery. Okay? So that's what I mean. So this isn't about, I'm getting utility now from looking forward to having $55 million. It's about, I'm generating utility now from the belief that I might win $55 million. And these things are subtly different. Now, if your belief is, with probability 1, I'm going to go on vacation next summer, that's fine. But we're still going to call that utility over beliefs. And it's anticipatory because you're anticipating the thing, but what we care about is how does your belief about the probability that it will happen affect the utility you get from this thing in the future. Okay? So let's go back to the KISS and the electrical shock. What are the implications of, well, first we're going to crank up a model of anticipatory utility. There are various models available. We're going to crank up a real simple model and see what implications it has for preferences over timing of outcomes. So here's a model. We have time starting at t equals 0 and going on either to infinity or some capital T endpoint, it doesn't matter. And in each period, a person is going to get some instantaneous utility u of little t. Now, normally instantaneous utility we think of as being a function of something, like c of t or x of t or something like that. We're not worrying about what it's a function of. It's just some utility you're going to get from something. And in addition to that, in each period, they're going to get anticipatory utility equal to this. Okay, so forget about alpha for a second. Let's just look at what's in these brackets. What is this? Delta times the utility that you're going to get in the next period, t plus 1. Oh boy, I always do this. That's supposed to be a 2. Delta squared times the utility you're going to get 2 periods out from now. Right, so what's going on? Delta is some number between 0 and 1. And what's going on is I get anticipatory utility out of what's going to happen in the future, what's going to happen 1 day from now. But then if it's 2 days from now, I get a little bit less anticipatory utility. If it's 3 days from now, a little bit less, or 10 years. So sort of if something is, if someone says, I've arranged for you to get a kiss from your favorite movie star 10 years after you retire, you're kind of like, I don't think I'm going to put a lot of effort into looking forward to that right now. It's just too far in the future. So that's what this sequence of sort of discount, this is sort of like anticipation discount factors, right? So the further out something is in the future, maybe the harder it is to really get a good anticipatory flow going. And then alpha is a weighting parameter that tells me how much weight you put on that anticipatory utility. Maybe some people are just like fantasy freaks and they go around all the time and you could like pelt them with rotten bananas and they wouldn't care because they're fantasizing about the future because their alpha is really big, right? So they don't care about what's happening right now, u of t. All they care about, their alpha is so big, all they care about is what things are going to happen in the future, right? So this is the person who's like lying on a sunny beach, maybe next to their favorite movie star, and all they can think about is the root canal that they're going to have to get next week when they go home. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to assume exponential discounting just for simplicity because it turns out that beta delta, adding in beta delta preferences, the discounting is not going to really elucidate much in this model. You could do that if you wanted to in some other, if you found a situation where you really needed to take account of anticipatory utility and a taste for immediate rewards, then you could bolt those two things together, but we're not going to. Yeah, I don't.
So this model violates rational expectations?
This model's going to assume rational, but you're saying why?
It's violating.
It's violating. Why?
If these outcomes are actually matching the real outcomes in the future, then it doesn't work. This second part that you're adding is not necessarily the same with actual outcomes.
So if these are real outcomes that are actually going to happen, you're saying, then it does not violate rational expectations. That's correct. This model, at first, the way we're going to set this model up, the simplest version, is going to not violate rational expectations. And we could question later on whether or not that's a good assumption or not. But also keep in mind, the question of whether or not these outcomes are actually going to happen is kind of buried in here, because this little u of t, the thing that your instantaneous utility is defined over, could be some gamble. So the outcome could be uncertain. Right? So when I talk about little u of t, I'm not making any assumption that the outcomes are certain outcomes. They could be uncertain outcomes. Maybe I'll go on vacation, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll get an electric shock, maybe I won't. Maybe I'll win the lottery, maybe I won't. Okay. So we're going to assume exponential discounting for simplicity. And by the way, you will soon see that we're going to, I wanted to write something down here. No, I didn't. So we're going to sort of use this delta in 2 different ways. It's going to be annoying, but you'll see why. It makes the model a lot simpler. So this delta that we're using here to sort of discount anticipation is also going to be the same as the delta that we use to discount actual utilities. Okay, so check this out. At time 0, here's your big U. This is how you feel about different plans of all future periods. It consists of this. It consists of all of the utility you get at time 0, which is your instantaneous utility at time 0, and also, this is getting a little awkward, your anticipatory utility at time 0. Okay? So the instantaneous is easy. It's just what you get right now, outcomes. And then the anticipatory is this term, right? You weight with weight of alpha, which doesn't need to be between 0 and 1, by the way. It could be much bigger than 1 if you want. This sort of stream of fantasies or worries about future possible outcomes with diminishing importance as they get further into the future. And then you're going to take the same thing here in these square brackets, the same combination of instantaneous utility and anticipatory utility that you're going to get as a package tomorrow. And you're going to take that into consideration in your decisions today, but you're going to discount it by delta because it's in the future a little bit. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, right now, the utility I'm getting is from my outcomes plus this fantasizing about this stream of future possibilities. I also know that if I choose this plan, then tomorrow I'm going to get a different set of immediate outcomes and a slightly different, a slightly reduced set of future fantasy, because I'm no longer fantasizing about today. That's not in there anymore, right? So here I'm fantasizing about tomorrow, the next day, etc. Tomorrow I'm fantasizing about the next day and the day after that, etc. 2 days out, I'll be fantasizing about the 3rd day out and the 4th day out, etc. And so I bunch together my instantaneous and anticipatory utilities for each period, okay? And then I discount them by delta squared, blah, blah, blah. So delta is telling us something about how we feel about the future, And we're sort of using it to capture two different psychological dimensions of how you feel about the future. One is how much you just sort of you discount all future outcomes, including future anticipation, because it's just further away and you don't care as much. It's also telling us how much future outcomes sort of lose their anticipatory appeal as they're further in the future. Now, there's absolutely no psychological reason for us to think that those discounting processes are the same, that we would use the same delta for both of those. But we're going to do it anyway because, we're economists, and sometimes it's nice to just do things that are simple. Okay, so let's simplify this and see what we get. So that is equal to, there's that little u naught, that's the only times 0 component here, plus, now let me just group together all the stuff that's from period 1. It's alpha delta u1, that's here, plus delta alpha delta, delta u1 from here. Okay? And now let me group together all the period 2 terms. So there's alpha times delta squared u2 here, plus there's a delta alpha delta u2 there. Is that right? Something's not. Yeah. So there's actually, that's right. So alpha delta squared u2, so there's actually 2 of those. And then there's a delta squared u2 over here. Right? And I could keep going. So what you see in each period is, this is the actual instantaneous utility that the person knows that they're going to get, or in expectation believes they're going to get, and they're discounting that. And this is the anticipatory utility that they know they're going to get in the future, and they're discounting that. Did I get that all right? I think I did. Sorry. This is the, sorry, let me back up and say that again. This piece here, without the alpha, is the actual instantaneous utility that the person's going to get tomorrow, period 1. And they're discounting that by delta 1 because it's 1 period away. This is their anticipation of that instantaneous utility tomorrow, but they're getting that anticipation now. So it's not discounted by delta because it's in the future. It's reduced by delta because anticipating things is harder when they're further in the future. Now, this is pretty close in the future, it's just tomorrow, but we're sticking in that delta not to capture intertemporal discounting, but to capture the fact that the salience of future outcomes is weakened in the anticipatory process. Okay? And then the alpha is just the weight you put on the anticipation. So in each period, so here we have, this is the discounted instantaneous utility that you know you're going to get in period 2. And these things, when we sum them together, are, this is the anticipatory utility that you get in period 1, in period 0 from fantasizing about period 2. And this thing here is the anticipatory utility that you know that you'll get tomorrow from fantasizing about 2 days out. And they have to be the same thing because we made this very particular assumption about delta. Okay, so this is delta squared because you're fantasizing about it now, but it's 2 days away, so its salience is decreased. This is delta squared because you know that tomorrow its salience will be decreased by 1 delta, and on top of that, you're discounting that tomorrow's anticipation by an additional delta. Because not only is the thing that you will be anticipating about in the future, but even the anticipation is in the future. So you still wind up with 2 deltas there. Okay? All right, so what does that equal? So it's that u naught plus tomorrow's, the benefit that you get in total from tomorrow's stuff is delta times 1 plus alpha times u1. And then the utility you get now from everything that's going to happen in the second period and all of your stream of fantasies about it is delta squared times 1 plus, right, there's now 2 of these dealies, so 2 times alpha times u2, etc. Yep, just factoring stuff out. And then if I want to write that as a summation, it's u naught plus the sum from t equals 1 to, let's just say capital T, but that could be infinity depending upon how you set up your model. It's the sum of delta to the t times 1 plus t times alpha times u of t. Okay? So for every time period, for every time period, when you evaluate how you feel about some outcome happening in a future time period, what you're taking into account is this 1, that's the instantaneous utility. So you're going to discount by delta to the t that instantaneous utility. And on top of that, there's an anticipatory utility, which is t times alpha, because you're going to get to anticipate it for t periods. Right? If it's 10 periods out, that means that you've got now plus 9 other periods during which you're going to get to fantasize about it. And the strength of that fantasy is going to grow as you get closer to it, right? But from the standpoint of period 0, you're discounting each of those increasing periods of anticipation, so they all wind up looking the same to you. Okay? If that doesn't make sense, go home and stare at this for a while. Now, here's what we came here for. We came here to see if we could gain some insight into preferences over the timing of outcomes. Yeah? What does the capital U mean? So do you remember when we were talking about beta delta, we were talking about preferences over plans? And a plan is a stream of outcomes, right? And so if the plan is P, then capital U of P was equal to some discounted sum of the instantaneous little u's, right? That's the little u of